Hello everyone and welcome to another installment of Alien Month, where I'll be taking a look at a different game in the Alien franchise every Monday throughout October. This week we'll be taking a look at Aliens vs Predator on the PS3. I don't really know whether the AVP series is actually considered part of the Alien universe or if it's its own isolated thing, but at the same time, I don't care, I've bought it now, so let's review it. Aliens vs Predator revolves around 3 campaigns: the Xenomorph, the Predator, and Marines. So just for the sake of convenience, let's take a look at each campaign one by one, starting with Colonial Marines! I never expected to hear myself say that again in another PS3 game review, but here we are in 2016. The story to this campaign is pretty simple. Shoot xenomorphs, shoot predators, and just don't die while you're doing it. There is some vague semblance of a story in there somewhere, I think, but god, I do not remember it at all. This old guy is bad, and I think you're trying to find a way off of the planet that I guess you crash landed on, maybe, who knows, I sure don't. I beat this campaign on normal difficulty in one sitting. Took me about 3.5 hours, which might not seem like that long, but I guess that depends on the length of the other campaigns, which is something I will deal with when I get to it, I guess. And to put it simply, it's pretty fun. Honestly, this was a hell of a lot better than what I was expecting, and I only wish that Colonial Marines was anywhere near close to this. The weapons feel like they have weight, xenomorphs feel like they have some kind of impact, and the game has quite a few memorable locations. Fighting xenomorphs during a nightclub rave felt really cool, and trying to fight back an ambush in a room that's solely lit by a rotating light was pretty tense. I actually thought that was pretty imaginative. I appreciated that quite a bit. I also find it pretty funny that this game came out like 3 years before Colonial Marines, and it looks a hell of a lot better. That's probably not a good sign on Gearbox's behalf. But when I say pretty fun, it does end there. It isn't fantastic. In fact, it did start to get a little bit grating after a while. The xenomorphs do start to get a bit obnoxious in groups, the shooting feels archaic at times, and the boss fights were pretty lame. The first boss in the campaign is the Queen Xenomorph, and at first I was really excited that I would fight the Queen Xenomorph in a first-person Alien game. Except it isn't really that interesting because it doesn't ever move. All you have to do is shoot at some barrels and interact with some levers while fighting off hordes of xenomorphs that never leave you alone and never stop coming. AKA all of my pet peeves of how not to do a boss fight all in one boss fight. I was also kind of surprised at how little Predator was in this game. He literally shows up in one mission, you fight him in that mission, and then he's never seen from again. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that this game is an Alien game with a subtle cameo from Predator, instead of actually Aliens vs Predator, because he's not in it. Overall, the campaign's average, and that's all I have to say. I'm gonna go play the Alien campaign now, because I still need to do that. Xenomorph campaign! Oh, Jesus. I was actually really looking forward to this campaign, as not many games really put you in control of the Xenomorph itself. I mean, alright, well, some games do, but that's not the same. So I was pretty excited to play the Xenomorphs campaign, which ended up being even shorter than the Marine campaign, clocking in at under 2 hours. Even still, I've never been one to criticize a short game if the content there is good. And is the content good? I mean, yeah, I guess. Kinda like the Marine campaign, it started out really fun and cool and interesting, and kinda just evolved into a pretty tedious chore as time went on. For one, I will say that I did enjoy controlling the Xenomorph. Running around at lightning speed was super fun, and that doesn't even count when you're sprinting. This is his normal speed. This is what it looks like when he's sprinting. It's bloody insane. Being all stealthy and taking out Marines was pretty cool when it worked, and running around on the walls and the ceilings was amazing, like a lot more fun than I care to admit. I mean, it's easily one of the most stomach-churning things I've ever had to do in a game, but I mean, it's fun, and that's all that matters. As far as stories go, they actually did try to create some kind of little narrative around the Xenomorph, and considering what they had to work with, it isn't the worst. In this campaign, you play as Specimen 6, a Xenomorph that's smarter than the other Xenomorphs, I guess arbitrarily, and he was like experimented on, and like he escapes, I guess, and yeah, I don't know, who cares, whatever. I don't know, I'm not saying it's good, it's definitely not good, but for a story about a xenomorph, it's, you know, it's serviceable, it does its job. Like I was saying before, the combat doesn't always work. Sometimes you'll go to lunge at an enemy, and this'll happen. He'll just fall on his side. This actually happened quite a lot, I don't know why. Sometimes I don't even know I'm about to die, because the game doesn't bother to show me my health bar. Sometimes you'll blend in when trying to hide, sometimes you don't. I don't bloody know. It's so clunky and weird, and it sucks, because I love running around as the Xenomorph and attacking people and killing them, but the combat itself is pretty awful. And then finally there's the Predator campaign! Which I was going to completely skip over because this is Alien Month. I don't really care about Predator and he isn't really relevant to any of this, but whatever, let's do it anyway. People will moan if I don't. The Predator campaign seemed really fun. The combat was very cool and satisfying, and you have many different attacks at your disposal. You can jump on trees, go invisible, look at enemies with a thermal vision, and even kill Eddie Murphy. About 15 minutes in, I got killed by a bunch of Xenomorphs, and I just didn't care about playing it anymore. There's gonna be one guy in the comments that's annoyed at me for not playing the Predator campaign, but I don't care, alright? I've had enough of this bloody game. Overall, Aliens vs Predator is a game that has some cool parts and some pretty awful parts, resulting in a pretty mediocre game. It does seem like a game that people actually cared about making. Some thought seemed like it was put into it. I liked how all of the campaigns overlap, and if you look close enough, you'll notice the other characters of the other campaigns dart by, which is cool. I like that a lot. That kind of thing really appeals to me, but it gets pretty dull fast. The combat is annoying in pretty much every single campaign, in every single way. Everything about Predator seemed incredibly last minute, even though he's in the title of the game, and it just kind of feels a bit soulless, really. Like, it's one of those games where you're playing it and you're not feeling anything. It's just a thing that's happening on the TV. You're just pressing buttons idly, and you don't know why you're still playing it, really. Definitely not a bad game, not the worst I've played by any means, but not a game I feel like I'm ever gonna think about ever again. And so concludes this week's episode of Alien Month. See you next week.